Hello, boys and girls. Today I'm going to be reading to you A Splash of Red, The Life and Art of Horace Pippin. On February 26, 1888, the town of Westchester, Pennsylvania, celebrated a holiday. That day, in the same town, Daniel and Christine Pippin celebrated the birth of their son, Horace. Happy birthday, George. Welcome, Horace. So it was George Washington's birthday and also Horace's birthday. Horace grew fast, so fast that his mother could barely keep up with the mending. He'll be a giant someday, the neighbors would say. Grandma Pippin smiled at Horace's long legs and big hands. She figured his neighbors were right. Grandma's hands were big too, rough and scarred from the slave days in the Virginia. But they were just fine for giving Horace hugs. The biggest part of you, she told him, is inside where no one can see. When Horace was 3 years old, Pippins moved to Goshen, New York. As the family grew larger, everyone helped out. Horace put his big hands to work. He fetched flour for his mother. He sorted laundry with his sisters. He played with his baby brother. He held the horse while the driver delivered milk. At night, he piled wood for the stove and arranged dominoes so his grandmother could play. Then he would find a scrap of paper and a piece of charcoal. He drew pictures on what he had seen that day. Horace loved to draw. He loved to feel the charcoal as it slid across the floor. He loved looking at something in the room and making it come alive in front of him. He loved thinking about a friend or a pet and then drawing them from the picture in his mind. At school, he sat quietly at his desk, but his big hands were always busy. "Make a picture for us, Horace," his classmates would say, and Horace did. His pictures made people happy, except when he made some next to his spelling list. That made his teacher mad. But Horace couldn't stop drawing. One day, Horace saw a funny face in a magazine. "Draw me and win a prize," it said underneath. Horace drew the face and sent it off. A few weeks later, a package arrived. Inside, Horace found colored pencils, a pair of brushes, a box of paints. "Congratulations," said the note. Horace had won his first real art supplies. "Paint a picture for us, Horace," his sisters cried. And Horace did. He painted everyday scenes in natural colors. Then he added a splash of red. Horace was in 8th grade when his father left for good. The family needed money, so Horace quit school and went to work. For several years, Horace's big hands were always busy, stacking grain sacks at the feed store, shoveling coal in the rail yard, mending fences on the farm, carrying luggage at the hotel, making brakes in an iron factory, packing oil paintings into large wooden crates. Looking at these made Horace remember winning the art contest. How proud he had been. He loved those colored pencils, those brushes, and his first real box of paints. Horace was a big man now, with big responsibilities. Still, he loved drawing as much as he always had. He used charcoal, broken pencils, whatever he could find. "Make a picture for us, Horace," the other workers said, and Horace did. Far across the ocean, a terrible war had begun, and Horace's big heart wanted to help. The good old USA was in trouble with Germany. He joined the army, and he sailed away. In France, Horace and his regiment dug deep trenches for protection. There were no blankets or beds. It was always wet and cold and dark. "I have not seen the sun in more than a month." "I've not seen the sun in more than a month," Horace wrote. He wrapped his big hands around a rifle. A plane droned overhead. Shells exploded. Gunfire rattled throughout the night. If the fighting stopped for a while, Horace put his gun down and he would pick up a pencil. Make pictures for us, Horace, the soldier friends pleaded, and Horace did. He filled the notebooks one by one. One day he climbed to the top of a trench and shot out a ring. Horace felt the pain in his shoulder. He was hit. Many hours passed before help came. Horace was glad to be alive, but the bullet had badly damaged his right arm. When it healed, he couldn't lift or move it the way he used to. Now, when someone said, "Make a picture for us, Horace," Horace could not. After the war, Horace came back to the United States and met with Jenny Wade. Jenny was a hard worker. She loved to cook, and Horace was a hard worker too, and he loved to eat. It was a good match. They married and settled in Westchester. Horace was 32 years old, as big and as strong as ever. But because of his injured arm, he couldn't find a job. "How much can you lift?" a hiring boss asked, and that was the end of that. So Horace did what he could. He organized a Boy Scout troop. He umpired baseball games. He took the neighbors' children's fishing. When Jenny started a laundry business, Horace delivered the clean clothes. As he walked along the streets in Westchester, his fingers itched to draw all the colors and textures he saw. Lacy white curtains billowing in the windows, a splash of red geraniums blooming on a step, a yellow cat sprinting down the alley, deep green vines spiraling up a wall. At night, his old home in Goshen, his grandmother's slave days, and the Bible stories she had told him made pictures in his mind, and he longed to draw them. But how? His arm was weak and too painful to lift. The iron poker stood by the fire, straight and tall, as a soldier. Could he? With his left hand, he grasped the right wrist. He thrust the poker into the flames until it glowed red hot. Using his good arm to move the hurt one, he scorched lines into the wood. "Make a picture for us, Horace," the neighbor said, and Horace did. So he used the hot iron to make pictures in the wood. With practice, his arm grew stronger, his hand steadier. "Maybe now," he told Jenny, "I can try painting." There was no money for art supplies, so Horace used an old brush and leftover house paint he found in the alleys. For a canvas, he used a clean piece of cloth. Every day and late into the night, Horace worked on his paintings. He used gray and black and white, the somber colors of the war. Here and there, he added a splash of red. If a man knows nothing but hard times, he will paint them, for he must be true to himself. He used 100 layers of paint. He decorated the frame with tiny sculptures. 3 years later, he finished it. Now, as he delivered laundry or fished at the river, new ideas came, but he didn't paint them right away. Before he reached for a brush, Horace planned a new scene in his head. He painted the milkman and his wagon, women working in the kitchen, children playing in the yard, cotton fields and log cabins, John Brown and Abraham Lincoln, war scenes and Bible tales, men singing on the corner. Horace hung his paintings in a shoe store window. $5 each, said the sign. He hung others in restaurants and even traded one for a haircut. People admired Horace's paintings, but no one bought them. Then the president of a local artist club saw Horace's pictures. He told his friend, the famous painter, N.C. Wyeth, to come see them too. Wyeth agreed. Horace's paintings were good, very good. "Do you have one more?" the men asked. Horace showed them his work. He held his breath as they looked and they talked. Finally, they said, "You should have your own art show, a one-man exposition right here in Westchester." Horace could hardly believe it. He shook hands with the man. When they left, he celebrated with Jenny. It's been some of the purest expression I've seen in a long time. People came from all around to see Horace's paintings. Magazines wrote articles, reporters took photos, an art dealer told Horace he would help him sell his work. For more than 40 years had passed since Horace won his first box of paints. Now, at last, everyone knew he was an artist. Horace became famous. His paintings hung in big city galleries, museums displayed them, collectors admired them. Movie stars bought them, and once again, Horace's big hands were always busy. And if you stood outside the house late at night, you might see him leaning into his easel, his left hand holding up his right, painting the pictures in his mind. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story.